So I think we're ready. My name is Andy Pallito. I'm the Commissioner of the Department of Corrections. This is the first time we've ever done anything like this in the department. We had a series of meetings with a smaller group of people who were interested in corrections policy and so on and so forth. And one of the things we took a step back and tried to expand that to include anybody who may have an interest in department policy, directives, so on and so forth, operations, and that includes a whole cohort of people. So we kind of devised a new way to invite public comment, and so we've engaged in VIT sites all across the state, and we're issuing a calendar and so on and so forth, so we can have a reliable series of meetings that have a structure to them, allow the public to have input, and so on and so forth. And so this is kind of a prototype, and we may be a little clumsy today because we're kind of feeling our way through this and trying to really be organized and allow the public of Vermont, all across Vermont, an option to weigh in. This is a model that's focused off of an event that occurs in Colorado where they use a town hall meeting forum, but it's one big meeting. And what we try to do is allow people to do this from their homes. Really want to invite the members of the Corrections Oversight Committee. There's 11 members of the Corrections Oversight Committee, which is a legislative body, to kind of weigh in and watch this process unfold. And so the purpose today is not to discuss individual cases, and there's a few reasons for that. One, a lot of individual cases have some complications to them that limit the department's ability to actually talk about them in public. So there's HIPAA, which is medical and mental health programming issues that we can't discuss, and there's case plans that we can't discuss, even though you may be a family member, a spouse, a mom. We have those constraints. Second thing is we don't have all the data available to us to really respond in a way that's informative and would be helpful. And so what we are going to do is take comment on policies, directives, anything that you want to talk about except for cases. Now, if you have a specific case that you want to inquire about, we haven't really talked about this, but I was going to send you an email.
Well, there are also people at
He'll turn himself in.
There's a site that you could talk to after the meeting. We have to be out of these rooms by 6:15, so we thought we'd wrap up just about 6 o'clock, and there are some DOC personnel in each of the locations around the state that might be able to help you, or at least direct you to the proper person to talk to via email or whatnot. But I'm going to turn it over to Monica, who's going to talk about the logistics and whatnot, the timing, and then how we're actually going to do this and get the information back to you so that you know that we've taken your comments, and then how we're going to warn future meetings. Because what we'd really like to do is give you a series of things that we'd like to invite comments on, have you comment on those things, and then anything else you wanted to discuss going forward. And so that's kind of the format. So you want to talk about the setup of the meeting and so on and so forth?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I can talk a little bit about logistics. For people who don't know me, my name's Monica Weeber. I'm the Director of Planning at the Department of Corrections. And as the Commissioner said, we have multiple sites around the state participating today, so a lot of people in different rooms. And we want to give as many people who are interested in talking an opportunity to speak and provide public comment. So I wanted to give you a little bit of information about how that's actually going to happen when we start going to that point. When you signed in today, you checked a box that said you wanted to actually speak. When we start the public comments, we're going to rotate around the state in alphabetical order because that's the easiest way to do it. And the people who have signed up to public comment will be asked by the VIT technician to come to the table that's set aside for you to do that. We're going to limit the time that people have for public comments to about 2 minutes. And I will actually be giving you a warning. I'll say, your time is up, your 2 minutes are up, and then I'll ask you to politely move to the next person or move to the next location if that's possible. Also, as the commissioner mentioned, it's going to be really hard for us to comment directly or answer questions directly today. So the idea is that we're going to take notes. This is actually being recorded, so we can go back to it and listen to what people said, and then post responses on the department website. I'm not sure how long it's going to take for us to do that, so if you signed in and you left your email address, we can give you some notification about when that's actually going to happen. Or you can just keep going back to the website, which I'll show you by the end of the meeting. So also, as the commissioner mentioned, we're not going to talk about individual cases, so I don't need to go over that a whole lot. And I guess depending on the number of people who we have who are interested in making comments, we may or may not need the entire time here that we've set aside. Hopefully people came here because they're interested in giving us some of their feedback, so we'll use that time. So if you've changed your mind about commenting, you can go check the box on the sign-up sheet if you've decided you want to do that. As it relates to future meetings, I think as the commissioner mentioned, we were interested in knowing what people want to hear about. If there's a specific topic that people want us to present on, we'd be interested in hearing about that, so you could let us know. I think after this meeting is over, we'll sort of review the format and decide how to adjust for the meeting that's scheduled in February. And see how that'll work for us and how it will work for the rest of the participants in the group. I think.
Did you
as far as
questions on the website and the answers and all that?
Right. So if people, I think just in case people didn't hear, if you have questions, I am going to answer those. We'll answer those in writing and it'll be posted on the website. And in addition, I think there will be a way for you to send questions or comments. If something comes up after the meeting, you're able to send that information to me as well. I'll show you where to go look on our website so you can see how to reach us. Does that make sense as far as the logistics are concerned? Yep.
Okay. So do you want to get into directives?
Yeah, I think we'll just move right ahead. The first thing we wanted to talk about were the directives.
So one of the areas the department's always had comment on are directives. And so directives in the department basically govern pretty much everything that we do. How often you can visit, who can visit, when you get out of jail, what are the statuses you get out of jail on. They're pretty prescriptive. And the reason for that is that it ensures a level of uniformity across all work sites in the Department of Corrections. And then we go back and we audit to them so that we make sure that staff are following the directives. And so one of the things that we do as a department is we issue those directives to the public and invite public comment on them. And that gives us a way to manage kind of what Vermonters want from their Department of Corrections within the operation realities that we have, so statute and so on and so forth. So we have on our website, and I don't know if you could pull our website.
Yes, I'm going to do that.
We have on our website, on our public website.
Just wait till they show it on the screen.
An area for all of our directives. And so this is the department's public website. And under the department's public website, there's an area for directives. This is just a little 101 directives because it'll help make sense going forward.
I'm going to navigate slowly here so that people can see. So if you click on About the Department of Corrections and then you click on Policies and Directives, that'll take you to the page where you'll be able to get a list of all the policies and directives.
And so this will cover everything from, like I say, how often you can visit, who can visit, if you're a banned visitor, what the process is to be, why you could be banned, so on and so forth. In this, though, is directive number 2, which is, I have to say it without smiling, it's the directive on directives. And so it dictates how the department puts directives in place and why we do directives. Why am I bringing that all up? Because the number one thing that we're going to be asking for comment on as time goes on is on our directives. And so what we'll do before each meeting is we'll post any directives that are up for review. We'll invite comment, either written or verbal at this meeting, and then try and incorporate those comments where appropriate within that directive. And so that's how citizens can get involved in the future of the department. And so what Monica's brought up here is the page that has all of our directives. I think there's like 350 of them. We try and update them on a relatively consistent basis so that they don't get old and outdated and whatnot. That said, we still have some work to do in this area. So I think there's two that are up right now for, is it two or one?
Well, I'm going to show people how to get there. I think there's just one right now.
That's open for public comment. So the next meeting, we'll post any other directives that are up for public comment, and then anything that you want to see on these future meetings, if you email Monica directly, we'll create an agenda out of that. But the number one thing we'll always get to on each of these meetings are the directives. So I don't know if you want to get right
Sure.
into it.
I mean, just to show people, so again, if you go to the About Department of Corrections and you click under Policies and Directives, there's a lot of information on this page, but in order to get to the ones that are being posted for public comment, you want to actually click the feedback, and it will take you to that section of the page. If you were interested in scrolling down the page, you can do that as well. But this is where we would post policies or directives that were out for public comment. And if you scroll down a little bit here, you can see we have proposed policies and directives, and we have a list, and we have a comment period listed next to them. So the one that's currently out now is a directive on sealed and expunged records. And so that's out for public comment until December 11th. So if you wanted to look at that, all you would need to do is just click on this link, and it would actually bring the directive up for you, and you could print it or read it right on the screen. And then if you had comments that you wanted to give to the department, all you would need to do is go up to the back top of that page and click the feedback at state.vermont.us, and that'll open an email box for you to type your comment, and it will go to the person who's in charge of collecting all of that for the department. So that's one way for you. It's probably the most efficient way for you to actually provide comments on directives to the department. And so, I would encourage you, as the commissioner said, we're reviewing those on a regular basis and sending them out to the web for public comment. So it's a place that you might want to get familiar with. Bookmark it on your website or something.
So now, you're entitled to. We would welcome any comments on any topic you want to give us, but specifically, we're looking for comments on these directives as time goes on. So at this point, we are thinking that we're going to need 4 meetings a year, and like Monica said, those meetings are posted on our website. But we'll evaluate that based on the comments we get and so on and so forth. So I think that's it. Do you want to turn to comment?
Sure. We're moving right along in our agenda, so. I'm sorry. Bennington. Right.
Oh, we have to say that?
Right. I'm going to do that. So we're going to open up for public comment now. And as I mentioned earlier, we're just going to go around the state in alphabetical order. I have the list in alphabetical order in front of me. And so when people start, I will just start my timer on my phone, and I'll give you your couple minutes, and then we'll just move around that way. So Bennington is going to be the first site. And if you could just say who you are when you get into the front of the microphone, if you could just tell us who you are when you start, we would love to hear that. Hi. Sorry.
Hi.
Do you want to say something?
I'd also like to know if there's any members of the Oversight Committee at any of the locations, too, as we go through.
Okay.
Just so we can keep track.
Hi.
Sorry
my
about
name
that.
is
Go right ahead now.
My name is Dorothy Wallace-Senft, and I'm a resident of North Bennington. And I have a comment concerning inmate programming and rehabilitation. We acknowledge the heinous recrime of Michael Jakes in 2008 and have witnessed a crackdown on current prisoners with related crimes. We're seeing how this is creating an injustice. We urge the DOC to start a more individualistic approach to inmate rehabilitation, looking at each inmate's performance during their time of sentence, their accomplishments and behavior, and use this to determine their programming rather than the heinous crime of one very bad man. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate your. Is there another person in Bennington? Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Can you tell us who you are, please?
Pardon me? My name is Ann Wallace-Senft, and I feel that prisoners should be offered their therapy program at the beginning of their incarceration, and their progress should be part of their ongoing record. And I also think that we should not send our prisoners out of state to places like Kentucky and Tennessee. This makes it very difficult for family and friends and is a barrier, I think, to their reintegration into society. I think we could do a better job of rehabilitation if we kept our prisoners in state at state-run facilities rather than sending them out of state at facilities run by private, for-profit corporations. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move around the state now. And the next one is Brattleboro. I have people in Brattleboro. Anyone ready to speak there? Nope.
Hang on.
I'll go to my other page. That's going to tell me if I have people ready to speak. This is me getting used to the technology. Okay.
Hi.
Montpelier? Oh, Brattleboro. Okay. Sorry.
That's okay.
Brattleboro, you're gone.
All right, I just wanted to check in and say there are a couple of us here. We're both spectating at this point. No one seems to want to make a statement right now,
Okay.
but we're here.
Then I'm gonna move on to the place that I know has some people who want to testify, and that's Montpelier.
Hi. I'm Dave Bellini. Disclosure, I'm a almost 34-year Department of Corrections employee, and I want to talk about one issue in my 2 minutes, and it is an economic and a moral issue, and I think it's a 21st century issue whose time has come. It's the fact that we hire 99% of our correctional officers as temporary employees, like Walmart. Now, I'm speaking to the legislature and I'm speaking to the governor's office because I know it's beyond the power of a commissioner to change this. But I really would like management to add their voice to many people's voices and say, enough. So we send correctional officers through 5 weeks of an academy, and it's quite a test, and we tell them that they're supposed to be a model of good behavior. And I'm asking the state of Vermont to do the same for them. Start being a model of good behavior. When we hire someone as a temporary, they have no health insurance, and we have the health insurance governor. If you go to work sites around the state, you'll see from the Department of Health, stay home if you are sick. The flu season is early this year, and I understand it's already hitting some of our prison, but what happens if a temporary correctional officer stays home? They have no sick days. They lose money, so they have to make a choice. Do I stay home, or do I lose a day's pay? That's really not good. We also don't provide them with any vacation from probably the most stressful job in the universe. We don't give them any dental, because we want them to smile too. And while they do get the academy training, there's some trainings that they don't get, and they really should. So, again, it's a moral issue. Will someone from management join me and say, this is wrong?
Thank you, Dave.
Okay.
There's somebody else in Montpelier as well. Hi.
Hi, my name's Nick Wolfe, and my last stay with the Department of Corrections ended in 1985. I was sentenced in 1982 to 4 to 12 years until I could do something about my drug and alcohol problem. And at that point, back then, you'd go to programming, and they'd say, well, if you go to AA, you'd get good time. And I guess there's something like a truth in sentencing law now where they don't give people good time, is what I've been told. Anyhow, I've been, for the last 25 years, I've been a volunteer in Woodstock and in Windsor, and I've spoken at jail in the state. And there used to be, a good amount of people that would attend AA and NA meetings. And now I'll go to Windsor, there'll be like a population of 100, and maybe one guy shows up for a meeting because they have no incentive to go. Last time I spoke in Newport, I believe there's 400 people there. 4 guys showed up at the meeting because there's no incentive to go. Because they gave me an incentive to go, some 30 years ago, I've led a really good life, And other people should be afforded the same thing. I'd like to know why they're not. That's all
Are you all set, Nick? That was it? Thank you. Yep. Okay, I know there's some more people in Montpelier, but we'll come back. Next, we're going to go to Newport.
Okay, my name's Wally Rogers from Westmore, and I'm not sure, I didn't know the type of questioning that would be allowed, and so this might be a little on the personal situation, so you can cut me off if that happens. But the town of Westmore is facing some problems with people being released into the community, a couple in particular, one that was released right next door to myself, who was in for attempted murder. He was moved into the area, into the house next to mine, a beautiful home, rural setting, country setting, without any of the neighbors knowing anything about it. We knew nothing until one day we saw a few men walking up and down our road. And I'm really, really concerned about the safety of the people, and especially so many people that have been unaware up until recently of this situation. I know right now it is cut down on, we don't see many people walking anymore. My wife is afraid of walking outside of the door of the house because this man lives right next door. There's a girl up the road. As a matter of fact, if I'm not getting too personal here, there's an elderly woman who used to walk the route daily, now does not. A neighboring woman who is fearful of stepping out of her house. A high school girl who's afraid of being alone in her home, which is roadside. A young mom who is fearful of her young son playing outside. Residents who are startled by any nighttime noise that they hear because they have the fear of this man escaping. And the once peaceful roads that are far less traveled by walkers now because of the fear. I'm just really concerned about somebody like this being in the neighborhood. Also, there's a house right across the road from mine that was for sale, and was actually on. There was an offer made for the house, and then because of this home being used for this person, they withdrew the offer, and so that tells me my house is the value of my house is going to go way down. So I'm just wondering if any kind of consideration has been given to the neighborhoods for people like this being released into the community. So
Can I just ask a question? I want to ask a question of clarification. Have you contacted anybody in the Department of Corrections before this?
The town has had a meeting, and somebody, I believe, was supposed to be coming to the next meeting, but I'm not sure on the details of that.
Okay.
We've been told that everything is confidential and that we're not to know anything. At a town meeting, we were told that. The state police was there and a couple of other people.
Okay.
You said Westmore, correct?
Westmore, yes. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think, was there another person in Newport? No. Okay. How about we go to Springfield?
I'm George McNaughton, a local attorney in Springfield. The public relations of the Department of Corrections has been plummeting in Springfield, and it seems to be still on a downward path. And it appears to be due to certain potential rumors that may or may not be true. So I feel that they need to be addressed, should be addressed. One of those is whether the state is truly keeping its promises to Springfield with regards to the release of prisoners. The word on the street is that what is happening is that prisoners from elsewhere are incarcerated in Springfield. Their families move to Springfield in order to be able to visit them. They are then released to a rehabilitation center elsewhere to supposedly handle their drug abuse problems, then the rehabilitation center releases them to where their family is now located, which is Springfield, which is an end run. If this is true, it's an end run and violates the spirit of the agreement with Springfield. If it's not true, then the state needs to be very clear and public as to what investigations it has done to establish that it's not true. The second problem that we have is there's been an eruption of drug gang-related problems, which the community suspects has a connection with the prison. And the question there is, what policies does the Department of Corrections have to keep prisoners from out of state who are known to be drug traffickers and who are known to potentially have gang connections sequestered from in-state prisoners from the state of Vermont, so that the prisons do not become a recruitment center for gangs and drug trafficking. Finally, there is a concern about the lack of drug rehabilitation being occurring and courses being taken while the prisoners are still within prison, rather than making it extremely difficult for these people to go straight after prison because of the enormous cost of various courses that they're required to take from not-for-profit agencies, and what impact the scheduling of parole officer visits have on their ability to retain and keep their employment. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Is there somebody else in Springfield? Yes.
Yes,
Hi.
I'm Wendy Germaine from the Springfield Restorative Justice Center. I don't have a lot to say, but I just wanted to mention that I've had the pleasure of volunteering at Camp Agape for a number of years now, which is a camp for kids with incarcerated parents. And this last year, it was the first time it had happened. I spoke with a lot of young women who were upset that they couldn't have contact with their dads when they were in Kentucky because the video conferencing equipment was not working. And I did make contact with the person in charge of that. He was very helpful and nice, but I haven't been able to figure out if that equipment is actually up and running again. It was broke down for a while. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention and make sure that that's available to these kids.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we're here now. We're in Williston now. Oh, so, hi.
My name is Mel, and I have a couple of questions regarding the Chittenden County Correctional Facility. When the women were moved to Chittenden from St. Albans, there were one of the arguments made for this was that it would be possible to expand the work release program rather than they're just having jobs inside the prison. This summer, there was only one woman who was on work release, and then the program was shut down. As far as I know, it hasn't been started again, and I wonder, particularly since developing the ability to be self-supporting is so important for making a successful transition to living a crime-free life, what the plans are for the work release program. And the other question that I had also involved the Chittenden County Correctional Facility, and that is the continuing problems with the heating system. Promises were made that the heating system would be fixed, and I was just in the facility Monday and discovered that parts of it apparently are way too hot and other parts are just freezing. And in particular, in House 1 and House 2, there seems to be no heat. I don't have any way of verifying this, but this is what I was told. And it's particularly severe at night when the heat's turned down. So that was it.
Okay, great. And we'll move on to,
Me?
yeah, tell
Okay.
us who you are.
I'm Tracee Rosen. I live in Richmond, Vermont. I have a couple of suggestions to you, and I have an issue. My primary issue is that I believe it is inappropriate for the state of Vermont to allow solitary confinement under almost any circumstance, and absolutely not beyond a 24-hour period. I think if you go back and actually read the Geneva Convention, and I am absolutely not a tree-hugging, lefty, latte-drinking Volvo driver, for real. But I believe if you actually look at the Geneva Convention, under whether it's cruel and unusual or whatever the actual words are, I think that it's absolutely inappropriate across the United States, and I certainly don't want Vermont to participate in that. And I believe that solitary confinement is used in the state of Vermont. I know for sure it's used in St. Johnsbury. I don't know about other facilities. I know that it is not necessarily limited to 24 hours. And I believe that I would be more than happy to do the research to substantiate the medical claims that are now fairly well documented that it provides absolute long-term, very damaging psychological impact on the men and women who may be in there. So that's my issue, my suggestions, and I'll make this really quick. Number one, you ought to, since it's a new process, there ought to be a testifying template available online so that those of us who want to testify have some format. We could even fill it out online. You'd have it in advance, and we would have some guidance. Number two, we concerned citizens, even if we're just single issue types, it would be great for the Department of Corrections to give us a roadmap for us following up with our legislatures in tandem with you to execute, no pun intended, modifications to the policy, because we're quite willing to advocate with you, not just at you. And I think that if you help us structure our approach, we can do a better job. My other comment, I noticed quickly when you put those open for feedback things, it looked like 2 weeks is the limit. I think that's an inappropriate short amount of time for the public. Number two, do you have an automatic notification policy? If I give you my email, will you tell me there's something up there? Otherwise, you're asking the public to go up literally every day. That window closes really quick. So if you really want to engage us, and we really want to be engaged, then we need, and websites they're not expensive. This ain't rocket science anymore. It would be very appropriate to make it more citizen engaging and friendly, and there's loads of tech companies right here in Vermont that would be able to do that for very reasonable dollars for you. Those are my issues. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Oh, she's coming back out. Montpelier. We still have some people in Montpelier who are signed up. So can we go there?
My name is Rick Levy, and this is my issue and question.
So Rick, we can't read that, but I think
You can't?
Could you tell? You're just too far away. Sorry.
All right.
400.
What it says is 400 plus unsentenced in custody, cost per prisoner per year. These are unsentenced people who, under the Constitution, my reading of it, says that they're innocent until they're convicted. Why are 400 and some odd still in custody? Why has the department not developed any programs, or has the department developed any programs such as supervised own recognizance or intensive supervision prior to sentencing? How much money are we, the taxpayers, spending on a yearly basis for technically innocent people to be held in custody? And what can the department do to relieve that? Those are my questions.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We have another person in Williston now who has some comments. Yep.
Hello.
Go ahead. Hi.
I'm Katina Cummings. Hi. I'm a healthcare planner, an advocate, and also the former executive director of NAMI Vermont, the National Alliance on Mental Illness in Vermont. I attended the Mental Health Oversight Committee meeting yesterday in Montpelier, and an issue arose from a legislator, Ann Donahue specifically. I'm not here on her behalf. I'm just interested in the issue and the question myself. My understanding is that individuals who are court-ordered, court-ordered for psychiatric hospitalization, if there are no beds, they go to Springfield for a waiting period, which can range from a day to up to, I think the average was 6 days or so. The question arose, while these individuals are waiting for a bed, especially those with very high acuity, what kinds of treatment would be available to them aside from the protocols and treatment that are in place through the Department of Corrections? And could there be some collaborative effort? This is my question. Collaboration, and there probably already is, between the Department of Mental Health and also the Department of Corrections. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Was that clear? Was that clear?
Yeah,
Thank
I
you
think we
very
understand
much.
the issue. Thank you. So,
Yes, hello.
Hi.
My name is Robin Lloyd, and I support what, I'm from Burlington. I support what some of the previous speakers have mentioned, bringing the inmates who are currently out of state back to Vermont, and not privatizing either the prisons or the health care that is provided to the inmates. I understand that the governor wants to cut costs in our prison system, and so I'm wondering whether there might not be a possibility of more extensive use of the work release. I am on the board of trustees of a local institute for higher education. I'm being not saying what because we haven't officially taken any position on this, but there is some interest in seeing whether it would be possible to get work release for prisoners, in fact, to live off campus in a halfway house and be engaged in completing either college courses that would help them then find employment, and this would certainly save money from the cost of the annual cost of incarceration to becoming, which are they $50,000 a year per person? It would certainly be save money. So I'm wondering whether that's an initiative that would be welcomed by the Department of Corrections, or whether it in fact already exists in some parts of the state. Thank you.
and you signed in and left your
Yeah.
information, correct? Okay, great. There's no one else. Sure. Yeah, actually, there were a few things I wanted to show on the website, so I could. And
I just want to.
The commissioner wants to make a few comments first, so why don't we do that first?
I can close it.
Okay, we'll do the
Unless you
website
want to
first. I don't care.
I'll close it.
I also wanted to show people on the website where if you didn't go to the page that's related to the town hall meeting, I wanted to show you where that page was. And it also let you know how to get in touch with me if you were interested in making sure you got an email about the notes or something related to this meeting. So again, on our website, what you would do is look over on the menu here, and you would look for community involvement. And there are a couple things under community involvement, and you would click on Corrections Town Hall Meeting. And this is where we have information about the dates of the future meetings. The next meeting is going to be on February 12th, again, at all the locations that are listed. I do try and post the agenda at least, a week in advance if I can do that. So I did do that sometime last week. And then if there are other documents that we're going to post related to meetings, I'll put them there as well. Once the minutes are up, I will also put them here where it says meeting minutes, so you'll have access to those. And then if you want to email me directly about the town hall meeting, all you have to do is go down here and just click my name, and it'll bring up your, your email message browser, and it'll be populated with the subject of town meeting, so I know what it's about, and you can just send me a note. So I wanted to make sure people knew that this was a site where you could look on a regular basis, or as we started to get close to the beginning of January and December for minutes, and then starting to think about the next meeting in February, what the agenda would look like. And if there were topics or specific things people wanted for that February meeting, we would also invite you to send an email to us and let us know that there's something you would like to, for us to possibly present to you. I think there'll be some time for us to be able to do that. So that's all I wanted to say about the website. And we have one more in Lyndonville. So let's go to Lyndonville.
Hi, Andy. Hi, Monica. I'm John Perry.
Hi, John.
I have some history with you guys. First, I want to thank you for doing this. This is a really good idea, and I commend you for your courage. It's clunky and it's technical, but we'll get it, and this is a really good way to communicate. What I wanted to say to you, I see the numbers out of state are steady, not going down as fast as we'd like, and I see that detention is up, which is troublesome. But I want to speak to you as a member of the board of the St. Johnsbury Justice Center, and urge you to expand some correctional programs. The correctional program that I think needs expanding and some more funding is COSA, the Circles of Support and Accountability for Reentering Offenders. We've heard folks tonight talking about their concerns and problems about people coming home and whether or not they're the right people and that sort of thing. And what COSAs do is put 4 or 5 citizens from a community who volunteer to wrap themselves around an offender who's coming home and be the community's connection with that offender. We've had some spectacular success in taking offenders who are pretty difficult, some folks with serious mental health issues who have never been able to stay out of jail for more than a couple of days. They get out, they screw up, they come back again. They're the walking wounded. There are a lot of terms. COSAs, the COSAs that I'm thinking of, it took one guy who had a track record of losing every 48 hours. He'd come back to jail. They've kept him out for 138 days. This is just a group of citizens working with professionals, working with you folks in corrections to support this fella and keep him out of jail. Now, 138 days of out-of-state costs is a really good amount of money to save, opposed to the cheap cost of a COSA. But it isn't free. Managing the COSAs does cost money, and what I'm here to urge you to do is to consider for your budget coming up, expanding the budget amounts that you're asking for for community justice centers to develop more COSAs. The more citizens we have involved with reentry, the more the Department of Corrections can build trust with the people in the community. And that's all I have to say. Nice to see you both.
John.
Thank you, John.
Okay, so we have a few more people who have been brave enough to sign up, and one of them is in Middlebury. So we'll go. Oh, we have 2 people in Middlebury. Great. We have 2 people in Middlebury. Why don't we go to Middlebury? Yep.
Hi,
Hello?
my name is Amy. Hi there. My name is Amy Cannell, and the reason I'm here is we're a victim of a robbery from a severe drug child. And we followed her through her whole trial and actually learned to forgive her and realize that we felt very sorry for this young lady. She went on to prison where she spent 4 years and was turned, when she was released, into a public kind of outpatient counseling, which 2 weeks later, well, it might have been a little more than that, she was found dead from a drug overdose. The counseling didn't work, and she received no counseling in the system. I have a very good friend whose son is headed the end of this week to jail and is well aware that he probably won't receive any counseling, and the outpatient has never worked for him. He's been suffering for a long time. And my question is, why isn't there more counseling while they're in jail and followed a little closer for those who the outpatient group doesn't work? Is there the possibility of individual counseling, or I'm just wondering if our tax dollars would be better spent with more while they're in jail counseling instead of releasing them into the back into the public without the tools to survive. And that's all.
Okay, thank you very much. We have another person in Middlebury as well. Yes, hi.
Yes, hi. My name is Carrie. I just wanted to, first of all, say thank you for setting up a Middlebury site. And then I also wanted to say, I'm sure you're familiar with a couple of years ago, our Department of Corrections was cut, and we now have a satellite office from Rutland. And I just wanted to, first of all, say what an amazing job the folks who are in that satellite office are doing. It's a lot of work that they're asked to do. As I know, corrections across the board in service of probation and parole is an enormous workload. But I wanted to just put the word out there that it is really crucial that we keep this satellite site, and we do appreciate the attention to that. And I would encourage, as we look for how our budgets go, to support the corrections officers, especially the probation officers, in doing their work, as they have such a crucial and important role in community safety, and their caseloads are so huge right now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Rutland. We have some people in Rutland.
Yes, hi, my name is Clark Dostemski. I'm an advocate with Disability Rights Vermont, and I wanted to address specifically the services that are to be provided to the 6 to 7% population of the Department of Corrections, of individuals that have been identified as severely functionally impaired. Many of those incarcerated individuals are languishing within the correctional system because of the lack of services and housing on the outside. And essentially, I am referring to a report conducted by the Health Services Division by the Vermont Department of Corrections dated January 18, 2012, entitled Raising the Bar. It is my understanding that this report has not been made public as of yet, but it does identify a number of initiatives and recommendations for better serving the SFI population. And I'm just wondering if the Department of Corrections intended to release this report to the public, as well as what the Department of Corrections is doing to address the recommendations made within the report. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there somebody else in Rutland, or were you the only person? Clark. I think Clark's the only person. Okay. Are we all set, Steve, then? We haven't found anybody else? Okay.
But you have enough detail.
I think so. Well, it's being recorded too. I can just come back. So are we ready to close up?
Yeah, one of the things that we contemplated when we set this meeting up was how much detail we wanted to respond with the fear that we would bind up all the time with the first two people who testified that, trying to go back and forth. But there are a couple of things that I'm going to break the rule and actually I want to dispel a few things that you may or may not know. And so this would be an opportunity for me to do that. First of all of our probation and parole staff, so that's everybody who works in a field site, works within a caseload ratio that's set in statute. So field staff are not just assigned a random group of people to manage and try and hope that they successfully reenter them. They're assigned people within a band of risk, and then it's done within a certain number of cases that they can manage safely and have a workload that is manageable. I used manage like 5 times, I know that, but the bottom line is that all of our P&P staff have a caseload that's assigned, it's contemplated, it's set in statute, and we don't violate those ratios. When we do, we look to move staff around so that we're within those caseload ratios. In fact, in the Department of Corrections over the last 3 or 4 years, despite what you see on the Saturday Night Movie of the Week, our caseloads are all dropping. They're dropping in jail and they're dropping outside. And they're in our field sites. Some of them have dropped pretty significantly. And so business has been tailing off, which is a good thing. John Perry mentioned detention, which was something that I think came out of Montpelier. Detention does not fall under the jurisdiction of the Department of Corrections. As a taxpayer, you don't give a damn who it falls under, but in terms of what we can do with somebody who's detained in a correctional facility, we're really limited as to somebody who's on detention. I want to answer that person directly. You can get his name, did you? I think it was
Rick Levy?
Rick Levy. You are spending $10 million a year to detain those 400 people. So that's $10 million in general fund. I want to give you that one directly because I tend to agree with you that I don't know how many of those 400 could be released safely, but I'd be willing to bet that certain segment of them. And it is based on the availability of mental health services, housing, so on and so forth. So it's a complicated issue. The administration is working with the court administrator's office to devise some kind of a wraparound to ease that a little bit because it causes all kinds of problems for the department when the number of people detained just goes up. And anyway, I'm getting way more detail than I wanted to. I wanted to just mention Springfield. Representative Emmons has called me a couple of times about feelings in Springfield that the drug crimes are up, gang violence is up, the department is violating its agreement with the town. I've looked at the data. I don't see any evidence that we violated the agreement with the town. In fact, I think we're well within the letter of the agreement. I think we've done a good job of not violating. That said, Representative Emmons has asked me to work with her on how we can educate the public in Springfield a little bit more, as opposed to me just saying, here's the data and have at it. And so that'll be emerging probably over the next month or so at Representative Emmons' direction, I think so you say that, so that we can have a series of meetings in the town and help people understand what's going on in the town. I think there is something that's happening. I don't necessarily think the department is adding to it, but that doesn't mean that we don't have information that could help to alleviate some of the fears or solve that issue. There was one more, and this is just random. I was writing notes as people were going. My intention is that everybody who asked a question, we will answer it on our website within a few weeks. By the end of the month, I'll say it that way. But there was one asked on segregation. I signed a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago, the shortest use of segregation in the country. We're down to 14 days. We don't put anybody in a segregation cell for 24 hours a day. We do use segregation, though, and in some cases it is appropriate. Now, some states the way it works, or the way segregation works, you get put into a segregation cell or a special holding cell, and on a period of time you have to be reviewed for different housing. Vermont, it's every 14 days you have to be reviewed. Other states, it's 180 days. So we are short. That said, there are people who it does appear that some level of separation is appropriate. I don't have a number. I think we probably today have less than 100 people. It's more than that.
Do you personally review each of those cases in those 14-day cycles? Personally?
I do not. My deputy commissioner reviews every one of them, though, with the chief of operation, chief of facilities, and the superintendent has to review those every 14 days, right? Did I get that right?
Superintendent has to review it every 24 hours. Anybody placed in there within 24 hours, they review and approve.
So every 24 hours. So it's a much more robust system than other states have. To your point, we still use it, though. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that we don't use it. But there are people where, frankly, we don't have the technology to control some of the things they do and hurt other people and other staff, and it's unfortunate. But I'm sorry, yeah. Anyway, I think that's all the only point I wanted to make. We don't have anything else, do we?
I don't have anything else.
So unless anybody else has a comment, we do?
Oh,
Rutland.
Rutland has another comment. Oh, there she is, waiting patiently. Hi.
Hi. I'm Karen McDonald. And I just wanted to talk to the issue of inmates with mental health issues and diagnoses that are being placed in solitary. I know you don't call it solitary, you call it segregation, but for all intensive purposes, it appears like solitary. And I believe it aggravates a lot of these illnesses. Inmates are returned sometimes on furlough violations with manic episodes or schizophrenic episodes, and they're placed down in the hole. Families aren't allowed to know what's going on because of HIPAA violations, which is frustrating. The inmates are usually, from personal experience anyway, out only an hour a day, and they have limited contact, which aggravates something such as bipolar, and can be detrimental. It just worsens the situation instead of bettering it. It's not uncommon sometimes for these inmates to be maced when they're in a manic episode, which to me seems just unconscionable. Exercise and food are limited. The gentleman from Montpelier earlier was stating that that COs have limited training, and you've got these COs that are going into down in the hole and who are dealing with people with mental health issues. They're not doctors, they're not nurses, they're people with a few weeks of training, and I'm wondering what the state is doing about trying to provide proper training to recognize and deal with someone who's actually having a mental health crisis. And then what do we do with these people when they're released? Is there aftercare planned? I know that there's limited housing for people with dual diagnoses, especially people that have addiction and alcoholism issues on top of a mental health issue as well. And that becomes even more complicated. I think it would be nice if the DOC had an area on their website that dealt with mental health specifically, probably for family, friends, and the public. I think, it's a concern of everyone, no matter what side of the board you're on. So I guess that's about all I have to say, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. And we have another person in Montpelier.
Are you there? Okay.
We are.
I'm Alan Tableau, and a former member of the Commissioner's Citizens Advisory Group. I really congratulate you for putting this together, because I think it's a process which will draw in, as you say, a much better cross-section of the community than what we've had before. I think the success of it will depend almost entirely on how quickly and completely you respond to the comments that are made here.
this was very satisfying in some respects in that a lot of people got to express themselves. It was very unsatisfying from the standpoint that a lot of questions were raised, but of course it's not possible for you to give an answer immediately on everything. If those answers can be sent not only to the emails of the people that asked them, but I imagine you may have answered this already and said you're going to put it on your website. Yes. But the quickness and completeness of answer will be the deciding factor, I think, on whether this format is going to be successful in the future. And just wanted to express that.
Thank you, Alan. Did we decide that emails were going to be used?
I am going to put it on the website, and if you left your email on the sign-in sheet, I am going to get those sign-in sheets, and I will email the responses out as well.
There.
And if
one
you
further
want to
comment on that, if you could if people were to email you, say
yes,
a week or two
I was just going to say that.
with their question, then you might be able to respond on the TV immediately.
Sure.
Okay. Once the session.
Thank you, Alan.
So we have another comment in Williston. Yes?
Yeah, thank you. I think this, I like this system of question and that you're able to respond right away. I have a question that, to my mind, came up during the testimony from the man who had a recently released prisoner moving in next door, and the concern of the neighbors. The question that was not asked was, did anyone speak to this prisoner and try to get to know him? I didn't get that from the testimony, nor did you ask, but I thought that was relevant. Is he still around?
Well, so my plan was to have somebody from our probation and parole office reach out to him. We have his name. Because what I'm not even sure is he a Department of Corrections person? I'm not 100% sure. He could be somebody who had a history. All those things are, we have to find out.
So, I mean, is there a process for when someone's released that they're...
Usually there is, which is why I wonder if he is under the Department of Corrections custody. But I'll have somebody from our probation and parole office in Newport, right?
Yes.
Newport reach out to him and find out.
Okay, thank you.
We do have a public process, and again, it's in a directive that speaks to when we notify the public, how we notify the public, and what cases, and so on and so forth. I think that directive was redone within the last few months. It's called community notification, or so on and so forth. And again, going forward, when we do this again, if you want to make comments on any of those, we're happy to reopen a directive and make a change to it if you think it's, if it's something that makes sense. So.
Thank you. Any more for us, Steve? No.
Good.
Okay.
So, you want to close it?
I would just close it by saying thanks to everybody who came. I mean, I don't have any other anything else to say. I appreciate everyone's participation and your willingness to be the first people to come to the meeting and try out the new format. So I appreciate all of your time.
And I would thank you, too. This is a very valuable thing. I always make jokes to the legislature that if this were a private corporation, I would get stock options and probably have retired, but it's not. And so the only thing I get when I leave is I get to pay for whatever I left behind. So I'm always about bringing the public in and having a completely shaped department that meets all of our needs. We are the experts in a lot of areas, but the public pays for it. And so I think it's important to have this process. So the legislature was really supportive of this direction, and I think we're one of the few departments to start this in Vermont. And if it becomes something that is really robust, we'll rethink the quarterly schedule. But for now, the next meeting is on February 12th. Same places, same format. And if in advance of that meeting you want to send Monica a few items that you wish to discuss, you don't have to email the questions in, but we could warn on our website, these are agenda items, and then other people can see and maybe ask questions about those. And I think the idea from Richmond about having some kind of a testimony format is a good one. We'll figure out a way to do that, how to help make sense. We do this all the time, so I just assume, everybody knows how to do it, but it's a good suggestion. So anyway, so thank you, and thank you for coming. So see you in a couple of months. Great.
Thank you.